Hello, today we're moving on to the nutritive value and dietetic value of cheese, also known as the nutritional value and the contribution to the diet of cheese. Now, before we start, I just want to remind you of the section in your textbook. So as you know, you all have the home economics textbook, and just make sure that you go to the very back of the book, and starting from page 460, there is a section on all of the food commodities. And in that book, you're going to find the nutritive and dietetic value of all the foods, and you're also going to find the nutritional significance of the foods also. I would like you to learn both of those for each food commodity from this section of your textbook, because these are sample answers and they're written out in such a way that in the event that any of them come up on your Leaving Cert next year, you would be able to answer the question and get the full marks. So just a quick revision there. We note that cheese has not been asked since 2017, and I keep saying it, but it's 8 years ago. And we're looking today at the nutritional value or dietetic contribution. Note it's 20 marks and 5 at 4. Now, just a quick reminder there that how is that 20 marks broken down? So our heading is the nutritive or the nutritional value and contribution to the diet. So I said to you that 20 marks should be broken down into 5 points at 4 marks each. When the examiner looks at your answer, they should see 5 very obvious key points. And then I went so far as to say, write letters at the side of your points. The examiner will be looking for 2 nutritive, 2 dietetic points and 1 other. And the notes at the back of your textbook, with the exception of fats and oils, we've taken 3 nutritive points. And also to note, a similar amount of information on each point. And lastly, when we're writing about the nutritional value or the contribution to the diet, we only refer to the percentage of the nutrient, the type of nutrient, and specific examples of, say, proteins or fatty acids where applicable. We do not mention any groups of people. We do not mention any functions of the nutrient. We just talk about the nutrient itself. So just to look at our sample answer here for cheese in 2017. First, I want you to see that we have protein, lipids and minerals as our 3 nutritive points. Note we have a similar amount of information on each, and for each of the points I speak of nutrients only, the type, the percentage and the amount. So for example, we'll start with cheddar cheese, 27% protein, cottage cheese, 11% protein. What type? High biological value, high in essential amino acids, in fact a complete protein food with all 10 essential amino acids. Carcinogen and casein, examples of proteins in cheese. Lipids, 33% in cheddar, 4% in cottage. Type, saturated fatty acids mainly because of the animal origin. Examples of fatty acid, palmitic and stearic, and also we have cholesterol present. And our third and final nutritive point, 6% minerals approximately in cheddar, happen to be calcium and phosphorus, copper and zinc, and how the calcium and phosphorus are macro minerals. And if you wanted there, we could have, but it's not essential, we could say that the copper and zinc happen to be trace elements. Now, remember, we have 9 chapters on food commodities to go through. This is only our second. So trust me, if you haven't been using this system to answer these particular questions, it will become very familiar to you, and particularly if you go over the sample answers at the back of your textbook. Moving on then, we have dietetic points, and we've taken 2. A reminder, what did I say to you when we were looking at the nutritional value and dietetic contribution of milk? I said, ask yourself 3 questions for contribution to the diet. What groups of people should eat this food or include it in their diet? Why? Are there any groups of people that should be wary or cautious about this food in their diet? Why? And are there any nutrients absent from this food that we should be aware of? If so, how can they be compensated for in the diet? So we've taken 2 points here for dietetic. I've taken bone health as 1. And secondly, no carbohydrate or vitamin C present in cheese. So if we look at our bone health, calcium and phosphorus present in cheese are essential in the diet for the calcification process because they will be needed to produce calcium phosphate. This will help maintain strength in bones and teeth and reduce the risk of osteoporosis in later life. Groups of people should eat cheese: children, teenagers, pregnant women and elderly. No carbohydrate or vitamin C in cheese due to the fact that the lactobacillus bacteria convert lactose to lactic acid in the early stages of cheese production. So vitamin C is absent also. Therefore, serve cheese with foods. How can we compensate? With carbohydrate and vitamin C, like a toasted cheese sandwich with a green salad or a lasagna with the selection of fresh green vegetables. So as you can see there, we have not given 5 points on nutritive value and 4 points in contribution to the diet. We are sticking with the marking scheme: 5 at 4, 2 nutritive, 2 dietetic, and our 5th point will be of our choice. So that's the format for nutritive and dietetic value. Now, I want to move on to our second term because I felt it would have been just a bit too much to have given both of them in our class on milk. So our second term that comes up on food commodities quite a bit, this is the term nutritional significance. Now, sometimes students will confuse nutritional value and nutritional significance. I've also included at the back of our textbook some copies of official marking schemes which backs up or reinforces that the format we are taking to answer both nutritional significance, nutritive and dietetic value, that we're on the right track. So I could be asked the nutritional significance of a food, 20 marks. For example, in Leaving Cert 2024, we were asked about the nutritional significance of fats and oils, 5 at 4 marks, and so on. Now, nutritional significance is a combination of both nutritive or nutritional value and contribution to the diet. And I would always say to my students, use the following format because it's working with the official marking scheme. So it's up to you. You can use a table if you wish, but I would take up a whole A4 page again, and I would divide the page into 3 columns. The first column is going to be very skinny, and then the other 2 are going to be the remainder of the page, half and half. On one column, I'm going to write, this is the skinny column, the actual nutrient. Then I'm going to write the nutritional value, and then I'm also going to say the significance in the diet, which is the exact same as saying contribution to the diet. Then I'm going to have a format that looks like so. I'll write the nutrient protein and I will write my nutritional value significance in the diet. Only then are you to close off. Don't have your A4 page with your 3 columns and close everything off, because what can happen is you've allowed yourself this much space, and guess what? You want to write more, and it ends up going over the line into the next box, and it's all very messy. So take 5 different nutrients, so protein, lipids, carbohydrates, minerals and vitamins. And to be honest, I say to students, don't bother with water. What can you say? Water is water is water. So they would be the 5 nutrients that I would take. List them down and then refer to the percentage of protein in the food, the type and example if possible. Draw an arrow if you can to connect the two. Doesn't have to be done. And then talk about the role of the protein in the food, in the diet. The role of the food in the diet, or the role of the nutrient. Now, to make more sense of this, I want you to look at our textbook. So I've taken a copy from our textbook. Now in 2017, they wanted the nutritional value and the dietetic value. Who's to say if we see cheese again as a food commodity on our exam that it won't be nutritional significance? So I'm just going to note there that it's 5 at 4 marks each. So 5 at 4. Note, I have my 5 nutrients: protein, lipids, carbohydrates, minerals and vitamins. Now I've said to you before, there's nothing nicer, well there are obviously, but one of the nice things about tables is that the information is so composed, and it just looks really well. If you look at an official marking scheme, say like 2024, where nutritional significance of fats and oils were asked, the marking scheme is 5 at 4, and then they list protein, lipids, carbohydrates, minerals, vitamins. Now they did mention water, but as I say, there's nothing much to write on water, and remember it's 4 marks each, 1%, and I certainly don't have enough to say on it. And then you write the 27% protein, high biological value, carcinogen, a protein in cheese, and we can also just write in here how casein, so we've got casein in cheese also. So you write that in to your textbook also. Right, next, the significance of the protein in the cheese is to do with growth. So we note there, cheese has twice as much protein, good for growing children, pregnant women, and pregnant women should avoid cheese made with raw milk because they can suffer from a type of food poisoning called listeriosis. Now, we don't need to give that level of detail here. Lipids, 33% of cheddar cheese, 4% in cottage, cholesterol, animal origin, saturated, and then caution in the diet of those trying to reduce cholesterol to eat low-fat cheese to reduce cholesterol because saturated fats can raise LDL. Now, I've noticed there that I should have said low density lipoprotein. Now, carbohydrates, no carbohydrate in cheese. Serve with foods containing carbohydrate foods like cheese with bread or crackers, pasta with the cheese pasta bake. Minerals, cheese an excellent source of calcium and phosphorus. Trace amounts of iron, potassium, magnesium, zinc, copper, calcium needed for calcification, and phosphorus. Bones and teeth, young children, babies and teens. And then one other, full fat cheese has vitamin A, good for eyesight, healthy skin. Vitamin D in fortified cheese, good for our carbohydrate metabolism and healthy nervous system. and B2 and B12 present also. No vitamin C, so serve cheese with salad and vegetables. Now, a lot of people go, when they see that, absolutely. But you'll get used to it. And, you know, it's early in the year, so this is the format that we're going to use. So for every single food group or food commodity that we're going to study, a significant component of every one of those chapters is that you are able to write a full, comprehensive, detailed answer, 20 marks. A whole A4 page is going to be taken up. And the same for nutritional significance, and learn those samples off. And certainly if it's a food that's not been asked in a very long time, say like cheese, we need to be keeping a close eye on it. So that's the end of today's lesson.